it, child. But watch out for that bad old tiger. That old tiger sure do like dark meat.
Amazon Prime Instant Video recently to watch Tom and Jerry cartoons from 70 years ago.
Who hasn't?
You may have been shocked to see that Amazon has added a disclaimer to the Cat and Mouse classic warning that what you're about to watch is racist.
The disclaimer reads, Tom and Jerry shorts may depict some ethnic and racial prejudices that were once commonplace in American society. Such depictions were wrong then and are wrong today. While the following does not represent the Warner Brothers view on today's society, these cartoons are being presented as they were originally created, because to do otherwise would be the same as claiming that these prejudices never existed.
So what's so racist about Tom and Jerry anyway? Well, most of it pertains to the character Mammy Two Shoes.
Oh, wow.
Who was basically the African-American maid of the house that Tom and Jerry live in, who often got caught in the middle of their scuffles. There's also some blackface and some pretty ignorant depictions of indigenous peoples in there too.
So basically the same shit that was racist in just about every cartoon from the time. Mammy Two Shoes is just one example of the mammy archetype that appeared in early 20th century film and literature, where the character was generally an overweight black woman of below average intelligence, wearing domestic servant clothing and speaking in a Ebonic dialect.
By the time the civil rights movement started picking up steam in the 1960s, MGM decided to go back and alter the original 1940s cartoons, replacing Mammy Two Shoes with a white woman with a different voice. In the 1980s, when Turner acquired the Tom and Jerry property, they brought back the original versions,
fuck it!
but replaced Mammy's voice with a more neutral dialect.
Okay,
and that's
fair.
the version that airs on Turner channels like Cartoon Network to this day.
Alright, yeah, I remember the original one from watching the old ones. However, in most other countries, the original versions have remained unchanged that whole time. The obvious reason for this is that the offensiveness of the mammy stereotype depends a lot on context. Most other countries don't have the same fucked up history of African slavery, Jim Crow laws, minstrel shows, lynchings, and so on that we have here in the States.
And along those same lines, I think most Americans under the age of 60 probably lack the real world context to really understand why Mammy Two Shoes is a racist character.
It's the same with blackface. For non-Americans or younger people, it's easy to ask, why is painting my face black racist? But in the context of old minstrel shows and advertisements and early TV shows, it's easy to see why blackface is very offensive to black Americans, especially those who are over the age of 70 that remember the pre-civil rights era.
And the fact that several decades have passed and that the context of the racial jokes is so far removed from our own time is probably why Warner Brothers and Amazon are okay with showing the original versions along with the disclaimer. Warner's actually been quietly releasing original versions of their old cartoons for a couple years now on DVD, usually in the the big multi-disc like ultimate collections that cost a bunch of money and are only really for hardcore fans.
I have a couple of them. These collections include similar disclaimers basically saying that the cartoons you're about to watch are a product of their time, and basically saying everything in the Amazon disclaimer. In the Tom and Jerry Spotlight collection, Whoopi Goldberg introduces the cartoons by explaining that Tom and Jerry, as iconic and important and influential as it is, includes racial humor that was normal at the time but is now very outdated. But that to erase Mammy Two Shoes and other various examples of old school racism would be like pretending they never existed, which would be wrong. It would also be messing with some of the best animation of the golden era. This stuff is truly art.
Yeah, it's really fucking amazing that they were doing this in the 1940s. And that's really the issue here. It's easy to discard TV shows or movies for being offensive and racist if they suck, but it's a little more complicated when these shows and movies are hugely influential, historically and culturally important, and basically laid the groundwork for what we have today.
The best you can do is hope that the person watching understands that they can appreciate hard work and innovation while also recognizing that things used to totally suck for minorities in this country and kind of still do.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and one aspect of that was racist on-screen portrayals in media.
Now, Tom and Jerry is definitely not the only old cartoon guilty of imagery and portrayals that would never fly today. Looney Tunes, aka Merry Melodies cartoons, have seen minor censorship for offensive material since at least the 1960s, most of which simply involved editing out small segments and keeping the rest.
I was recently at Six Flags, and still on the TVs there they play old Looney Tunes, and one of them had like a really big-lipped brown Eskimo. It was pretty bad. They're just like, here you go, while you're waiting in line for X2, watch this racist cartoon. But there are also some World War II era Bugs Bunny cartoons that are blatantly racist towards Japanese people, such as Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips and the Ductators, which have only appeared on TV in recent years on Cartoon Network's Toonheads documentary series in an episode about World War II cartoons.
Speedy Gonzales has always divided audiences, with many criticizing the Latin American stereotypes presented in the cartoons. The Mexican characters in the Speedy cartoons were generally presented as lazy and unintelligent, and when Cartoon Network gained the exclusive rights to Looney Tunes in 1999, they shelved all of the Speedy Gonzales appearances. That is, until a Hispanic American rights group petitioned to get him back on the air, calling him a cultural icon.
Yeah, apparently Speedy had always been a pretty popular character in Latin America, despite what American political correctness would assume.
Definitely not what I would have guessed, but yeah. And there are 11 Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes cartoons from the 1930s and 40s that have been completely out of official circulation since 1968 because of the racial stereotypes in them. Though Warner has said in recent years that there are plans to release them soon. They just need to do it.
Racism's done. Bring back the cartoon.
They screened them all at New York Comic Con 2010.
Nice.
And they said if they found the right way to do it, they did want to release them.
There's a place close by in here in LA that used to do screenings of old cartoons, and they would show stuff like this. It was pretty interesting, and they would tell the stories behind it and stuff. It was cool. And obviously, Disney has also seen its share of controversy and censorship over the years for material that doesn't jive with modern sensibilities. In the 1930s, they released Cannibal Capers, which was basically a bunch of African tribal stereotypes dancing around and speaking through mouth clicking.
And then Mickey in Arabia, in which a big fat sultan character forces himself on Minnie Mouse, and then Mickey stops him and they get chased around by scimitar-wielding locals.
Jesus. And then in Trader Mickey, Mickey and Pluto get captured by African cannibals and thrown into a stew. But the cannibals have a change of heart and let them go once Mickey teaches them how to play jazz music.
Oh my God.
And again with the cannibalism, in Mickey's Man Friday, Mickey befriends a native African and saves him from being eaten. He then bestows upon him a new name and tells him he's gonna be Mickey's sidekick now.
This is insane. And then in Mickey's Melodrama, Mickey and friends put on a stage production of Uncle Tom's Cabin in blackface. Yeah, Mickey Mouse had blackface on.
Not gonna see that at Disneyland.
No.
And in the Disney version of The Three Little Pigs, one of the Big Bad Wolf's various attempts to disguise himself to get into the pig's house is dressing as a straight-up Jewish caricature to trick the pigs into opening the door. Get the big nose. It looks like something out of Nazi propaganda film.
By the 1940s, Disney had mastered the art of racial caricatures, and in the classic, groundbreaking Fantasia, one segment featured a black female centaur named Sunflower, who is basically the servant/slave of the pretty white centaur girl. For some reason, they decided to remove that part for the 1960s re-release.
Can't imagine why.
No.
In Dumbo, the titular flying elephant meets a group of crows who are basically jive-talking, cigar-smoking black stereotypes. And the leader crow is named Jim Crow. Ugh. Sample lyric, I be done seen 'bout everything when I see an elephant fly.
Wow.
You gotta sing it.
No.
I be done seen. Since their racist heyday in the 1930s through 60s, Disney has calmed down quite a bit with the stereotypes, but they've still found time here or there for a little bit of racism, like with the merchant at the beginning of Aladdin, who in the theatrical version sang the line, where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, they changed that for the home video release. I can't imagine why.
Yeah. Outside of the Warner and Disney cartoons of yesteryear, there's been plenty of questionable racist depictions in classic cartoons like Betty Boop, Popeye, the Flintstones,
Oh yeah.
and pretty much every animated production from back then that ran long enough for the writers to say, hey, I think it's time we mix things up a bit by throwing in a slant-eyed buck-toothed Chinaman into the mix. It's kind of amazing how that gag and blackface was a joke that never got old for people back then. It's kind of like farts today.
Yeah, blackface was the fart joke of the 1930s. Like, anytime it happened in a cartoon, it was like, oh my God, I didn't think of that. Like, it's Mickey, but he's got a black face.
It's a regular knee slapper.
Now, probably the best/worst example of this is a little short, and I don't know what company made it, but it's from 1941. It's called Scrub Me Mama with a Boogie Beat, which somehow manages to cram every early 20th century black stereotype into a fun little 7-minute musical number. I couldn't find anything mainstream from that era that made me WTF nearly as hard as this one. It's got shoe shining and like fat old mammy characters doing laundry and like barbershops and like their lips are half their face.
wow. Fight. Take that. You take that. I'll bust your head. Lazy town. 1 hour stop for lunch.
Nowhere to wash clothes. What you all need is rhythm.
What do you all mean, rhythm?
I'll show you what I mean. In Harlem, there's a little place where everyone goes to see the way a washerwoman washes her clothes.
If you like boogie woogie rhythm, she's got a beat. Let the boogie woogie washerwoman give you a treat. On every afternoon, that's when the sessions begin, and all the boys from all the bands come down and sit in. They sit around and knock each other out when they play, while the boogie woogie washerwoman washes all day. Rub me up, dub. That's just the way she rubs. Rub me up, dub. That's just the way she scrubs. Rub me up, dub. She wears her all and dub. She rubs and rubs and knuckles right on down to the nuts. Rub me up, dub. That's how she kicks it off. Rub me up, dub. She keeps it nice and soft. Rub me up, dub. Till someone hollers off. Rub me, mama, with the boogie beat. You really ought to visit there if you've never been. It doesn't cost a penny, just come down and walk in. If you like boogie woogie rhythm, you'll get a treat. Let the boogie woogie washerwoman give you a beat.
Rubbly up dub.
Rubbly up dub!
Rubbly up dub. She rubs and rubs the knuckles right on down to the nub, yeah. And she keeps it nice and soft.
Till someone hollers off.
Scrub me, mama, with a boogie beat.
Scrub, rub, 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 rubbing all day. Scrub, 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 scrubbing away. Scrub me, mama, beat me, mama, rub me, mama, scrub me, mama, mama.
Rub-de-lip-dub. Oh, how she'll get you with her rub-de-lip-dub. She'll really throw you with her rub-de-lip-dub. Hear them yelling medley. Oh, fellas, come on down. There is a treat in store for you. There is nothing for you to do but let the boogie-woogie washerwoman scrub you. Let the boogie-woogie be. Rub-de-lip-dub, rub-de-lip-dub,
One of the benefits of being a Jordan school now, and a Jumpman school, is that in your metal lockers, you all get these Retro 11
salon that did her hair like that. What was they thinking? I don't get it. Go back. Try again, boo-boo. Try again, boo-boo. Ew. OMG, what do she have on? She Russian. Her lace front is all wrong. Cause she rich. Give me the phone. I'm finna take this hell of a picture. Cause she Russian. Got it. I'm about to put this girl on Twitter. You know you ratchet. Cause I ain't got time for this. I'm too grown. See you ratchet. Boy, bye. Now with them shoes on. He ratchet. Ooh, what you wanna punch her in her face? I can't stand her. Oh, she too fake. She ratchet. Girl, let me tell you what I got my Mr. Girl, what? A baby boy. And it came with a sister. Girl, yes, I'm pregnant, but I still hit the club. I'm in the middle of the floor with no shoes. Where's up? I had to get cute today. Apple bottom jean fur boots today. I had to keep it looking good, cause my baby daddy just made bail. He a thug, he a shoot today. New baby, need new shoes today. And child support check get two today. Got my tracks yesterday. Hey girl, did you get the glue today? Gon' be feet up. Move, tramp. It's the 15, I got my food stamps. Got a brand new piercing, brand new tat. Paid $95 for this weave, plus tax. Bow, been a thing over while I spank my thumb. No red hair, this cake alone. Let's let the track off the back of a rat that's whack. If she ever talk to smack, if she thinks you wrong. Whatever, see a lie, my number, blah-blah. Ooh, here she come, girl. Shh, be quiet. Hey, girl, how you doing? You better get it. Turn around, let me see who did your sewing. Okay, we'll talk to you later, girl. OMG, what do she have on? She Russian. Her lace front is all wrong. Cause she rich. Give me the phone. I'm finna take this hell of a picture. Cause she Russian. Got it. I'm about to put this girl on Twitter. You know you ratchet. Cause I ain't got time for this. I'm too grown. See you ratchet. Boy, bye. Now with them shoes on. He ratchet. Ooh, what you wanna punch her in her face? I can't stand her. Oh, she too fake. She ratchet. My name is Emanuela, but my girlfriends call me Kari. The club is free before we 11. Pre-game, then we party. Yes, I am the baddest, but you can't have this boo-boo. Sorry, cause kosher is my future baby daddy. Mari got my jersey dress on. Jordan Hills match my press ons. Pow, team dark skin. We don't like them red bones. Duck lip in my pic. New Abby got glitter. Hit me up on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. I'm with Team Flip Phone, Team Chris Brown. If she don't shut it up, then it's team shut it down. I'm with Team Bad Chick, team with your man. If he got a lot of money, then it's team he paying. Uh-oh, new camera phone go zoom.
Today marks the change of not only a new year, but a new millennium. Take a look around. The majority of the youth roam the streets, dealing in drugs, sex, and violence, thinking these things have no real effect on life. Crimes without real punishment, an uncaring, unfeeling generation without knowledge of self. This is the future of our nation, the future of our people. Do you think hatred and evil will go unpunished? The world is now feeling the heat from flames it has kept burning since the beginning of civilization. You represent that fire. You and I are just a small part of God's plan. The evil men of this world have applied every method possible to deceive its occupants, and each time with greater success than anticipated. But no more. Tonight, with this new millennium, God will begin to overcome this evil. I represent the truth to the people. Without truth, nothing is sacred. The lie, that's what the devil is all about. Brother, you know that already, because that's why you're here. We all play a grave role in our own destruction. Your money, your lifestyle. The things that people value and covet so dearly are the bait that lures them out of the light. Through the love of others, I have power. The truth gives me this. Those that fear me send you here to murder all that I say. They use what you fear against you. Your fear of death, your fear of imprisonment. Where in this world is anyone safe from death? You see the lies you've been told? The path you take is not your own. You ever thought about how precious a life is? How difficult it is to create? How loosely and easily it has been for you to take away. Help me to do what's right. Help me to stop the slaughter of our children. Help me to put an end to the disrespect and the dishonor of our most valuable resource, the black woman.
Chess Davis and Emmett Miller.
Yeah, man.
How you feeling, boy?
Well, I'm a man. I'm a man was in bad shape.
What's the matter, boy?
Didn't sleep any last night.
Why?
The window shade was up.
Why didn't you reach up and pull it down?
Man, I couldn't reach across the street. But I ain't feeling well. I ain't been feeling well for 17 or 18 days, almost a week. I don't know what's ailing me.
What is the trouble?
Well, you know down in that neighborhood where I live?
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of cats down there, and they congregate in my backyard every night.
Every night.
One place called Law black cat about that long. Got on my back fence last night and just howled and howled all night long. Sure was bad, but I stopped him.
How?
I cut his tail off.
You can't stop a cat from howling about cutting off his teeth.
Stop this one, cause I cut it off right behind his ears.
Get on board, little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. Say, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. The gospel train is coming, I hear it just at hand. I hear them car wheels rumbling and moving through the land. Now get on board. Get on, children, get on board. Get on, children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. I hear the bell and whistle. She's coming round the curve. She's playing all her steaming power and straining every nerve. Now get on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. The fare is cheap and all can go. The rich and poor are there. No second class on board this train. No difference in the fare. Now get on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. She's nearing now the station. Oh, sinner, don't be vain. But come and get your ticket and be ready for this train. Now get on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. If any of you brethren see my wife, just tell my wife of me. If she gonna stay there and shout all night, just send me the back door key and she can stay on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. Now get on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Get on, children. Get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more.
before I bring out this film is that the black community, the so-called black community, the so-called Negroes, right? You must know that you are really the children of Israel. You are really Hebrew Israelites. You are really the chosen people of the Most High God. That is one thing that you guys must understand in these last days, okay? They are not going to tell you this truth because they know if you wake up, that's going to be their end. But they know you are kings and queens of this earth. You are the rightful rulers of this earth. Just to bring out a scripture on that real quick, Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 7. I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. This reminds me of the movie I did called The Skin Game. In that movie, I was showing how they know we are the children of Israel. We are the real Jews. We are the real Hebrew Israelites. We are the real chosen of the Most High God. You can watch that also on my YouTube, right? They know exactly who we are. And as you see, we have the servant, so-called white man on the horse, and we have a prince, the so-called Negro, walking upon the earth, right? So I just want to bring that out. Also, the irony of this movie, or the subliminal message of this movie, they know that the real Hebrews, the real Hebrew Israelites, or Igbo people have come to America as slaves, right? And we have been destroyed, basically, by our slave masters, right? They know we are those people. If you look at the crown on Eddie Murphy's head, right, it's no different than the crown that they wear in Ashanti over there in the west coast of Africa, where they brought us from. Even if you look at the medallion on his neck, right, of the king, is no different than Eddie Murphy's father medallion on his neck, right? So they know exactly who we are. Once again, before I start bringing in this film, I just want to prove to y'all real quick. Showed this book before, Creole New Orleans, Race and Americanization. We just proven real quick that the so-called Negroes are from the tribe of Judah, okay? Page 67, between June 1719 and January 1731, 16 slave trading ships arrived in Louisiana from the Senegal region. 6 ships came from Judah, a slave trading post. Between February 1626 and January 1731, 12 slave ships from Senegal landed 3,259 slaves at Belize at the mouth of Mississippi River. During that same period, 1 ship from Judah landed 464 slaves at that same port. The African slaves brought to the Chelsea Peak during the 18th century came mainly from the Bight of Biafra and were heavily Igbo, proving that these people were the real Jews, right? So-called Negroes from the tribe of Judah. You see that? This is a map by Emmanuel Bowen, Kingdom of Judah, the slave coast, when we fled from Israel, Jerusalem, down into the west coast of Africa, and they came after us. So I'm just showing this real quick so you know that we are from the tribe of Judah. So when I show things in this film, you'll understand that it's the truth. And you can buy this book, by the way. You can get it. Okay? So we're going to back it up in the Bible. We're going to back it up in the Bible. We're going to go to Lamentations chapter 1, verse 3. Judah is gone into captivity, slavery, the slave coast, where I just showed y'all. Because of affliction and because of great servitude, she dwelleth among the heathen. She findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. Okay? Kingdom of Judah, slave coast, where they took us from. And they put it in the college textbooks. They know who you are, so-called Negroes. So let's get it.
morning, Your Highness.
Good morning, Your Highness.
Happy birthday, Your Highness.
3 things I would like to bring out in this beginning clip, right? Now, notice how they all called him Highness, right? Basically a prince, right? So, I want to bring out a scripture real quick. Genesis 32, verse 28. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince has thou power with God, with Elohim, and with men, and has prevailed. They know he's a prince, the seed of Jacob, right? Also, his servants, right? The female servants and the head male servant. They are representing the Africans, right? Or the other heathen nations that are made to serve us, right? But let's go into the law. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy. Bondmen and bondmaids. Verse 45. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, like the Egyptians, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they beget in your land, and they shall be your possession. So that's who they are representing here. You see, they know what's up. They know what's up. Now, the last thing, when he mentioned, it's your birthday. We don't participate in birthdays. That wasn't a commandment or a law that was given to us, okay? But that's an Egyptian thing. But let's bring that out. Genesis chapter 40, verse 20. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, an Egyptian, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants, right? That's what the Egyptians do. And these guys, these people, they're representing the Africans, basically the Egyptians here, right? And the Most High told us in Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2, thus saith the Most High, learn not the way of the heathen. Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. But I'm just showing that part real quick. We are not supposed to follow the ways of the heathen. Okay, these birthdays, that's not in the laws, not in the commandments of the Most High.
And who are you?
I am a man who has never tied his own shoes before.
Wrong. You are a prince. You are a prince who has never tied his shoes. Believe me, I tied my own shoes once. It is an overrated experience.
Good morning, Your Majesty. It is another beautiful day in Zamunda. Beautiful day in Zamunda.
Okay, so they're in Zamunda. Zamunda. Remember that. Zamunda. Almost sounds like Zimbabwe. Remember that. Zamunda, Zimbabwe. Sounds a little bit similar. But basically it's in what they call Africa, right? I want y'all to take note of that, because I'm going to bring some stuff out at the end of the movie, at the end of this video, that's going to make a connection. All right? Let's keep going.
His Highness must be very excited today.
Why is that, huh?
Today is your 21st birthday, which means you meet your wife-to-be.
Roll engagement t-shirt. Step one, step on, and get your roll engagement t-shirt.
Now, you notice how the women are dressed, right? That's according to the law. They have their head wrap and they're wearing dresses. But let's get it from the law. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, like pants. Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, like a dress. For all that do so are an abomination unto the Most High thy Elohim. Okay, that's an abomination, women wearing pants and stuff like that. It's in the law, and the Most High going to put you to death for it when he returns, but that's another lesson. As you notice here, this lion, right? Let's get it in the scriptures. Revelation chapter 5 and verse 5. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. They know the so-called Negroes are from the tribe of Judah. I showed y'all that in the beginning here. Now notice Eddie Murphy sitting at the right hand of his father. Let's get that in the scriptures. Luke chapter 22 verse 69. Hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of the power of God, of Elohim, right? And we know that Mashiach, the one they call Christ, is from the tribe of Judah. That's Hebrews chapter 7 verse 14. Notice how all the Hebrew women have their heads covered. They're wearing dresses and they have their heads covered. That's how we used to dress. Now the fellas, they have on the white boy tuxedos. You know what? That's the so-called white man's thing. But, you know, they always have to put a little truth with the lie, like I mentioned before. But the women, they are definitely dressed like Hebrew Israelite women. Same way they're dancing in this film is no different than how the Igbos dance. It's really no different. These are the same people. The Hebrews. Same thing. No different.
So,
am I not all you dreamed I would be?
oh, you're fine. Beautiful. It's just that if we're going to be married, I thought we should talk to each other, get to know each other.
Also, you notice on Eddie Murphy's pendant, he has like a lion on it, right? Because they know he's from the Lion of Judah, the tribe of Judah. See that?
Ever since I was born, I've been trained to serve you.
You know, I got to bring this out in the scriptures. Ecclesiasticus chapter 26, verse 14. A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Most High, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. That's the kind of woman you got to have in your life. I'm just saying.
May I have your attention, please? The wedding will proceed in 40 days. You may go home now.
Again, I mentioned the same way these women are dressed in this film is the same way the Igbo women dress at a wedding. It's no different, proving that they know something. They know that the so-called Negroes are the real Hebrews, the Igbos, the Hebrews basically, the Hebrew Israelites. They know that, and that's why they have them dressed this way.
Here's New York. Tails Los Angeles.
Let's take a look at that coin for a second. Got a Negro face on the coin, right? He's a king, right? Okay, I want to show y'all something for a second. Just want to go in this book real quick. Ancient Jewish coinage. See that coin right there? Look at his big lips and nose. Look at his crazy hair. That's a Negroid face right there. Check this one out. You see that? Big nose. Look like he got waves in his hair, right? Anyway, they know what's up, but I'll do another video on this one right here.
Let them wear our princely robes. We're in New York now. Let us dress as New Yorkers.
You know what I'm saying, man? You know I know it's real, but they don't know that you know I know the deal. Coming back.
I feel like a complete idiot. I feel like a complete idiot.
And Arsenio was right when he said he feels like a complete idiot, right? Wearing these American clothes, you know, these are not even of our heritage, of our custom, right? We have been destroyed, right? If you go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48, therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Most High shall send against you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee, right? We've been in slavery so long until we got mentally destroyed. That's why we do the things that the Gentiles do. We wear what they wear. You know, we want to look like them and all these different things, right? Until he hath destroyed you, right? That's what he says. He feels like an idiot wearing these things. This is my favorite part of the movie, by the way.
Always wanted to be beautiful, sexy, and just 1, 2, 3.
Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul, baby, feel oh so silky smooth. Just let it shine through. Just let your
we know Eddie Murphy likes to play multiple personalities in his movies, and I find it kind of funny that he's playing a white Jewish man in this film.
What about Rocky Marciano?
Oh, there they go. There they go. Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. That's the one. That's the one. Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano. Let me tell you something wonderful. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't shit.
He beat Joe Lewis's ass. Stop right there a minute. Man goes into a restaurant. You listening? A man goes into a restaurant. He sits down. He's having a bowl of soup. He says to the waiter, come, taste the soup. Waiter says, is there something wrong with the soup? He says, taste the soup. He says, is there something wrong with the soup? Is the soup too hot? He says, will you taste the soup? It's wrong. Is the soup too cold? Will you just taste the soup? All right, I'll taste the soup. Where's the spoon? Aha. Aha.
I've got a secret. I worship the devil.
Well, guess what, sweetie? It ain't such a secret anymore because your boy Eddie Murphy does too. Just like all the rest of these celebrities. They all worship the devil. In secret. Come on. Now, as Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall is talking to these females, right? Trying to find the right chick. Check this out.
I was Joan of Arc in my former life.
It's funny how they have a black woman here saying that she was Joan of Arc in her former life. Right? Now, this is true. The real Joan of Arc was black. Right? The real saint. So these people know exactly what they're doing. Again, subliminal message. Even if we go into the scriptures, right? 1 Maccabees chapter 3:48, where it says, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. You'll even find that in the book Babylon and Timbuktu, how the Greeks and Romans went in and stole the African gods, right? The gods of Asia and Africa, and painted them white. Changed their color. These people whitewashed our history and stole our history and portraying themselves to be, you know, holy and saints and stuff when they're really devils. You can go and do a Google search or go on YouTube and you can type in, you know, black images all over Europe. All over Europe. Also, if you notice, they have her putting a lighter under her hand, right? What are they trying to signify with that? Are they trying to tell you she's crazy? Or does that signify, the destruction of the black image, right? Basically the whitewashing, right? Destroying the black image. To me, that's what that signifies, right? But to the viewer, it might signify her as being crazy. But really, that's a subliminal message for us to know how they destroyed the black image. Now, I'm going to show 4 clips how they play psychological warfare on us, right? They'll make the light-skinned black woman out to be better than the dark-skinned black woman, basically, right? Or they'll show the dark-skinned woman acting like a jump-off, acting like a slut or whatever, and have the light-skinned woman, all smart and pretty and stuff. And that's what they're doing here in this film, right? And that plays a detrimental effect on the black community, because now, darker skinned people want to look lighter, it's crazy. It's crazy, right? But we could connect this back to scripture also. If we go to Ezekiel 16, verse 14, and thy renown went forth among the heathen for thy beauty. You see that? We went forth among the heathen for our beauty, because we don't look at ourselves as beautiful anymore. The dark-skinned man, dark-skinned woman, we want to be light. We want to look white, basically, right? For it was perfect through my comeliness, which I had put upon you, saith the Most High Elohim. So this is a clear indication that the people of the Most High would go among the heathens for their beauty. They wouldn't look at themselves as being beautiful anymore, right? Proving that so-called white man is not the people of the Most High. Okay? Just letting you know. But let's get into these clips and let's let them show you how they basically show dark-skinned women to be lower than light-skinned women. And showing them, how to be like jump-offs and whores and stuff like that. Check it out.
Something for you. Do you mind if I open it? Whoa. Think they're real? They couldn't be. From an admirer, not Daryl. Somebody's messing around. I am not. I don't care how much a man admires you. He's not going to give you earrings like that unless you're giving him a little booty. Not everybody thinks like you, Patrice. Yes, they do. They just don't admit it. Not everybody thinks like you, Patrice.
You see that? Not everybody thinks like you. Why it has to be like that? Why does the so-called black woman have to think like that or be portrayed as the one to always think like that? Why is that? This is a psychological warfare right here. So now they're at the basketball game and watch what she does.
Isn't that better?
Yes, thank you very much.
So this is how our black women are being represented on TV, right? This is how we are being represented on TV. It's just low, just jump offs. You see, even in the Purge movie when they had the black girl acting all ghetto and stuff, psychological warfare. They have to portray us like that. Here's a third clip.
Baby, I just had the most wonderful.
Oh, hi, King. Semi told me everything. Sorry things didn't work out between you and me, but you understand. Good night, sweet prince.
Again, that's how they portray our black women, as jump-offs, right? Jumping from man to man, right? Here's the next clip.
Daryl, what happened?
Lisa dumped me.
Oh, I know. Poor thing. First thing we have to do is get you out of these wet clothes.
You see that? Again, and then he looks at the camera. They know what's up. So, that's the 4th time. Making our dark-skinned women look like hoes, whores, jump-offs, harlots, whatever you want to call it, right? That's what they do. That's how they portray us. That's how they have destroyed our image. That's exactly how they destroyed our image in rep. So everyone looks at us like this. You see? Psychological warfare. And to those women that are acting like that, it's time for us to wake up. We are holy people to the Most High Elohim. We got to get right, or the Most High going to surely put you to death. Now, in this scene here, Eddie Murphy goes on a bathroom break or whatever, and some of his friends from back home in what they call Africa recognizes him in America, right? And they basically worship him like a king. Or the Africans that know him as being a king over there end up worshiping him.
Fill your beverages.
This is the greatest day of my life.
Yes, it was very nice meeting you two. Excuse me.
By the way, that dude to his right looked like Tigger, the rapper.
I will cherish this experience for the rest of my life.
See, the Africans recognize him as king, but us so-called Negroes here, we don't recognize each other as kings, as princes, right? Look at the expression on their face, these so-called Negroes here. Now, when Eddie Murphy's father comes to America to look for him, check out what he has on, right? He has on a lion on his shoulder, a dead lion on his shoulder, representing the lion of the tribe of Judah. Once again, they know exactly who we are, as I showed you guys. This is just a subliminal message here. The lion of the tribe of Judah. This same lion symbol here you can find in Belgium, Scotland, you know, all over Europe where we once ruled, where the Hebrew Israelites once were ruling before they took us down. They know exactly who we are, but they have took over. They have conquered us. They have took over and conquered us, and now they're calling themselves, you know, the Brits and France and French and all of these different places that we were once ruling in. The white man is not Esau. Now, I want to make a connection for you guys, right? I want to show you guys this video where this white guy, he goes to Zimbabwe in Africa to find out about the lost tribes of Israel, right? So I want you to check this out, and we're going to make the connection. Right? Here we go.
Today, the Lemba are mainly concentrated in the shadow of the Soutpansberg Mountains in the far north of South Africa.
The far north of South Africa, as you see Zimbabwe. Hint, hint, Zamunda, message.
Another beautiful day in Zamunda. To the casual observer, they look and live much like any other traditional Southern African community. But if you scratch below the surface, there are some intriguing differences.
Here I am in South Africa, and there are these men wearing skull caps and talit, shoulder wraps. You would see this in any synagogue in America or Israel, but I never thought I'd see it here in South Africa.
I want to find out how these people seem to have Jewish customs. Samuel Moeti is president of the Lemba Cultural Association.
Pleasure. So, I'll be honest, I came into this village and the first word I heard was shalom, the Hebrew word.
Yes.
How's that possible? How is it that the Lemba are speaking Hebrew?
The Lembas are the original Hebrews, and they were scattered, as you know, and they crossed into Africa. So they were scattered all over. So in South Africa, in many parts of South Africa, you find the Lembas who are actually Hebrews.
Hebrews, so the Lembas claim to be descendants of ancient Israelites?
Not claim, they are.
They are?
They are. Not claim, they are.
They are?
They are.
Okay.
We are the original African Hebrew. We are scattered all over.
If the Lemba's claim is true, the proof should be in their blood. It's now possible to trace the Lemba's ancestry through their DNA, and that's just what scientists in South Africa have done. I'm going back to the Lemba's current homeland to find out the truth behind this fascinating mystery. Doctor? I've returned to South Africa, the current home of the Lemba, an African tribe who call themselves original Hebrews. We've traced the journey they claim to have made across the whole continent of Africa. I've seen evidence the Lemba were traders and craftsmen, and that they helped build great stone cities in Zimbabwe and South Africa. The scientists here at the National Health Laboratory Services have screened the genetic profiles of the Lemba and their neighboring tribes, the Venda and the Bantu. They've come up with some revealing conclusions.
I heard of the Lemba many years ago.
Dr. Trevor Jenkins has been the lead geneticist in the study of the Lemba for the last 20 years.
And I didn't really have much interest in pursuing their actual identity until a friend who had been studying the Lemba had detected some Jewish influences in the music of the Lemba.
So their music actually differs from the people around them. And that brought you in to study the genetics?
Yes.
So the genetic data doesn't say that the Lemba are Jewish as much as it says they have Semitic origins.
Yes, that's how we put it. What we were saying was that there's a non-African contribution to the gene pool of the Lemba, which is not evident in the peoples amongst whom they live in that part of the world.
You mentioned non-African influences. If someone didn't have genetic data or the testing available, how could you determine if one group is Jewish or not?
I distrust relying on morphological features to categorize populations.
So someone couldn't say, oh, he looks Jewish, she looks Jewish, he's not Jewish, she's not Jewish. That wouldn't have any bearing on the issue of Semitic origins.
I don't think so. The Lemba.
Dr. Jenkins believes DNA always trumps appearances, and the Lemba's claim to Jewish ancestry may indeed have some genetic support. Not only is their DNA very different from their neighbors, but according to his colleague, Dr. Hemla Sudyal, it may have a non-African, even Jewish connection.
I'm Josh.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Take a seat, sorry.
Good.
I have gloves on, so I prefer not to shake your hand.
That's fine. Thank you. So I've come back to Johannesburg for more information about the Lemba, and I'm curious if you could tell me about the research you're doing.
Yes, this is the very interesting thing, that the South African Lemba harbor a particular Y chromosome pattern or lineage that's common in people who identify as the Kohanim or the Jewish priests.
Okay.
In the Jewish tradition, the Kohanim are part of the priestly caste. Amazingly, scientists have isolated a strand of DNA that's strongly associated with the Kohanim. It's called the Kohen modal haplotype, and it's almost exclusive to Jews who claim the priestly heritage. Almost exclusive. The Cohen modal haplotype has been found among the priestly caste of the Lemba.
The observation that the Cohen pattern was commonest in that one particular group is something that begs exploration.
This link supports the Lemba's oral history and the archaeological clues we've seen in the places they say they lived.
It's the Middle East.
Himmler is convinced that Lemba ancestors did indeed come from the Middle East. I'm excited to get back to the Lemba to see what they make of this. And I've got the perfect opportunity. It's the Lemba's annual festival, and I've been invited. It's hard to believe that these people, who to the casual observer look just like the other African communities they live among, actually do have DNA passed down from Middle Eastern forefathers. This proves that when it comes to race, looks really can be deceiving. This annual festival is a chance for the oral history and traditional songs of the Lemba to be passed on to the next generation. This song tells the story of the Lemba's journey all the way from Israel to South Africa. Having traced this journey, I'm eager to hear what Samuel Moeti thinks about the DNA evidence.
So the genetic testing actually proved to the doubters. So the genetic testing actually proved to the doubters. So the genetic testing actually proved to the doubters. So the genetic testing actually proved to the doubters what you and your forefathers have been saying for generations. That must be exciting news.
It is.
I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of the Lemba. I can only sum it up in one word, and it's shalom.
Shalom.
We've seen how science has backed up the claims of the Lemba in the face of years of doubt and prejudice. The archaeological clues, the DNA evidence, and the Lemba's own oral history add up to a very convincing argument.
One of the most challenging aspects to doing this journey and seeing what it was like for the Lemba to go from the northern parts of Israel down into South Africa is that there's very little archaeological evidence on the ground that says definitively this is what the Lemba did. So this is why I think the genetic component is so compelling, because it's hard to fake the DNA. It's in your blood.
It reminds me that first impressions can often be misleading. It was hard to believe that a tribe of black Africans could be the descendants of ancient Israelites. But that's exactly what they appear to be.
Brother and sisters, they are there. We are not lost. We are scattered.
So the genetic testing proved to the doubters, you so-called Negroes who don't believe, and you so-called white people that hate us, it proved to you doubters that the so-called people of color are the real Jews, right? We've been scattered, right? We have been driven from our land. A lot of us migrated to the west coast of Africa. Showed that in a book where they gathered us, where they were selling us into slavery, right? The kingdom of Judah is one, right? And they got it in college textbooks. They know exactly who we are. So y'all can say what y'all want, but the truth is here. Is here.
My position is that the black woman's disrespect and rebellion against the leadership and the authority of the black man is a direct cause of the breakdown in our black family structure. Now, of course, there are many black people who consider those fighting words because as black women, we have never been subject to the kind of examination that our men have been subject to since we have been here. We have been somewhat protected and shielded from any kind of critiquing about our personal behavior, whereas our men have always been up for examination. The book is not an attack on black women. I have never said that all black women do everything that I list in my book. None of us have lived long enough to do everything that I list in the book, but most of us do some of the things that I've listed in my book. And I do say that it is not because of generalizations that we are all victimized by some of the negative patterns of behavior in the book, but the book just represents our collective contribution. This is some of everything that we have done or that we do daily that contributes to the breakup of our relationship, the destruction of our man, and the failure of our children to be able to function. They did not tell us that all of that, being my own person and I'm independent, would lead to separation, loneliness, celibacy, and lesbianism. They didn't tell us that if you give up the man, you're going to take one of these things and it's worse and it will destroy your nation. They didn't give us that information. They made us think that it was some kind of glorified position to brag about the fact that I got my own job, my own credit card, my own car, so I don't need no man. I don't even know how we got that mixed up. Ain't none of that got nothing to do with being with no man. We have some serious relationship problems that nobody has been able to address us on because everybody wants to pretend that this is not going on. Over 60% of our women are single, widowed, separated, or divorced. They don't have a man. I just came out of Florida and they got a housing complex that the Urban League built, which is a black organization that is for women and children only. They say they don't allow any men in there. I didn't have time to deal with it, but I talked about them real bad. That's the silliest program I've ever heard of. You know them women that had men if they got a bunch of children. They need fathers. They need protection. We hear about the drug problem that we have in our projects across the country. It's one of the major places that we have a drug problem. We talk about the great strength that we have as black women. Well, the welfare department don't rent government apartments to single black men. Those apartments belong to black women who are allowing this to go on in their home. We have not looked at what part of the responsibility do we share. Yes, black men sell a lot of drugs, and a lot of us black women get the money from them drugs and buy some of these fancy clothes we wear. Drive around in some of these fancy cars. He is not doing these things alone and without support from us, whether they are good or bad. See, we have a lot of power. We are very strong women. I'm saying that we're using our strength in the wrong direction. We're using it to tear our man down, tear our nation down, instead of building it up. Having an education and a job does not necessarily mean you have a successful life. I keep telling black women that to raise a child, they say, well, I provided with food, clothing, and shelter. That's not raising a child, that's maintaining one. To raise a child, you need a parental coalition of a man and a woman. We have sons who, by not having a father in the home, they don't know how to respect women. They take on the black female emotionalism. They become bitchy, they're doubtful, they're indecisive, they can't make a decision. They don't know what to do about being a man because we can't teach them that. We don't have that knowledge. We have daughters who grow up in a home where they don't see any affection, where there's no man there. They go out into the world and try to mate. They don't have no idea how to be no woman to no man, how to function in a house with a man, because they haven't seen it. Most of our children, just like us, get all the information we have about how you be with a mate off television. It's the only medium that shows us anybody being together. Those rules have not worked for us. The white woman's liberation movement, we don't have anything to do with that. We have not been under the control of the black man for over 500 years, so what do we have to get liberated from them from? They haven't been our boss. That's the white woman and her man. They're going through that, and that's their business. We don't have any business being in that. They only introduced it to break down the civil rights movement. Civil rights movement started with the black man, the black woman, and the black child standing together, trying to plead for freedom, justice, and equality, and more benefits in the country that they had built. They threw the white woman in there with the women's liberation movement and made it a woman against man thing. That created a big separation between black men and black women, because then everybody started going for self. Then they bring the welfare system in and tell us in order to feed and clothe and house our children, we have to give up our man. You have to put the man out of the house. When the white farm wife goes to the government for subsidy for the farm, they don't tell her to get rid of the farmer. They keep that family together. But in the black community, they make it a requirement, because they want to keep endorsing into the black community that the black man is no good, and that he is not deserving of respect, he is not deserving of us letting him give us any protection or instruction, and that we are better than them. The major responsibility that the black woman has had on the earth for the trillions of years that we have been here has been one of nutrition and birthing children. Those two things have a great deal to do with the survival of any people, the reproduction of the nation, and feeding them the proper food so that they can live. Those are very important jobs. Those are very powerful positions, because it puts us in a position to decide who's going to live or die, and how slow they're going to die by what we feed them. We have a very powerful position. That's not a small role that we play. We have just been taught to misrepresent and misuse that power. The people who we have been counting on to give us the truth about how to get along have failed. The white people don't know how to get along. They don't have that information themselves. They don't get along with nobody on earth. So they didn't have no information to impart to us about how we're supposed to get along. They change their relationship rules at will. We have, tons of black children around this country that I hear from who have grown up traumatized by the fact that they were referred to as the outside child. When we were having children like that, they called it illegitimate children, until the white woman started having them, and now it's single parenting. See, they changed the rules according to what they're doing. So I've called on our people to change them depending on what we want to do, what our needs are. There's another need that has not been addressed in our community, because nobody will deal with it, and that's one that God did not create three sexes. We only have men and women. Now, I have not said that we should reject the sisters who try and act like men and the men who try and act like women. I'm not saying to reject them from among us, but they need to be taught. We don't have to accept that as some kind of normalcy, because that's not normal. But because now the white people are practicing that, when we were doing it, we were punks and faggots. Now that they're doing it, now it's an alternative lifestyle. I'm trying to demonstrate how they have set rules that they have forced us to follow that they don't even follow themselves. They change the rules to suit them when they get ready. We can change them to suit us when we get ready, especially if we have what we have now, which is a failing system. It hasn't worked for us. We don't have to be ashamed that it hasn't worked for us.
Hi, my name is Stan. And I've been watching the Black Power community for the last 100 years. I just noticed that you guys have been having some problems figuring out what to do about me. You see, I'm a cracker. Yeah. The white man. The guy that has been running the whole world for the last 2,000 years. Well, the reason that I stopped by to speak with you today is to help. I've been watching you guys fight over gaining real black power, and thought I would give you a few pointers. Since we white guys have been running things since we invaded Africa, I figured I would lay out a blueprint to help you achieve your objectives. Might as well use a plan that works, right? Besides, it beats the backward, no progress, mistake repeating methods you people have been trying for the last 400 years. So I knew all of you needed some help. Especially after Barack Obama got into office. He's a great guy, but a black man in a white man's house ain't really saying much considering all the hell you people have been through. Don't get me wrong. In many ways I know you were happy to get at least one black into office. This is good when you want to run politics, but ruling the world is what we white folks specialize in. Have you ever heard of the Illuminati? Well, that is the kind of coordination you are going to need to begin taking over the world. Okay, let's get started. Today, I am going to give you 3 things that we did to take over the world. You can use these too, and begin to gain real black power. Number 1. The first step to taking over the world is unity. I know you have heard of this before, but black people seem to really struggle with this one. You just don't seem to get it. You would rather fight against each other, instead of your enemies. This is bad business and you will never get true freedom doing things this way. Instead, do what we did to gain power. We divided and conquered entire countries based on their differences, while holding true to our similarities. I am white. There is no changing that. My God-born tendency is to preserve my own. Nothing is racist about that. It is just common sense. You people are the stupid ones, going around trying to love everybody, but yourselves. We kicked your asses here in America for over 400 years, and you still go around talking about Jesus loves everyone. While you've been doing all the praying and jumping around, we have been buying up the world and making laws you have to abide by. No offense, but everyone else has unity but you. I mean, look at the business in your neighborhoods. The people that control it don't even look like you. In fact, everyone who comes to this country sets up a business in the black community. The Koreans, the Indians, the Chinese. The list goes on and on. Aren't you tired of letting these other people supply all of your food, nails, and weaves? The one thing they have that you don't is unity. Number 2. Once you get unity, you are going to need to get organized. When we took over the world, we had a plan in place. A goal. Since we whites make up a small percentage of the global population, we knew the only way for us to exist was to enslave non-white people. This was our global plan for white supremacy. But we didn't stop there. We organized a military force behind our goal and executed it to perfection. Killing men, women, and children across the globe with brute force. Whatever we needed, we just took it. And if blacks or Native Americans didn't like it, oh well. Remember, there are no rules in war. Our objective is to ensure survival. But you black people seem to think your economic hardships, social injustices, and high arrest rates just happened by chance alone. Never mind, we've worked nearly 4 centuries, day and night to keep you people exactly where we want you. On the plantation. Yeah. It's true. Let me tell you a little secret. Most white people are not going to tell you this. It's an old family secret we have kept pretty quiet about. And for good reason. You see, all that free labor my white ancestors got from your black ancestors translated into a lot of money. In fact, the black slave trade was the greatest wealth-building tool in human history. With free labor we were able to finance the Industrial Revolution. Well, all of that money pretty much stayed in the vast majority of white families. And with all due respect, whites intend to keep it that way. You see, Dr. Martin Luther King was pretty good at integrating lunch counters and toilets. However, he didn't do so well at integrating bank accounts. So you blacks were shafted out of the money that was due to you in exchange for a good job and education. But it was us whites who owned most of the jobs. Which brings me to my point. It's just another plantation. I say all of that to say, being organized is more than alignment. It is knowing the traps we have laid out for you, and then moving around them. Everybody knows but you blacks. That education will only keep you enslaved. It will only produce what it has already produced. A bunch of dressed-up plantation workers perfectly content, working and serving under another man's vision. You don't really think we are going to teach you to build a nation for yourselves, do you? If you were really educated, you would be able to solve your own problems. Problems like gang violence, poor economics, and underrepresentation. Instead, you will continue to pass the notion of getting a good job down to your children. This will brainwash them to be just like you. And the cycle will repeat for generations. While we whites continue to run things at the top, your grandchildren will be celebrating the first black Catholic Pope. I know this has been long, so let's move to number 3. The third way to gain black power is the most important of all. It is this way because it deals more with your psychology than your conscious mind. When we took over the world, we decided to use the most dangerous weapon of all to subjugate the darker peoples of the planet. We used a combination of white supremacy and religion to mindfuck these people into complete submission. If a robber breaks into your house, rapes your family, kills your mother and father, then tells you that in order to go to heaven, you have to worship as God. If someone did that to me, then said that to be born again, I had to worship as God, I'd kill the bastard right on the spot. But you black people seem to have no problem worshipping the God of your enemies. Even worse is the fact that for all the praying that you have done, it seems like the God of the white man is just as racist as we are. Anytime you start believing in the God of your enemy, it pretty much means you're a complete idiot and a pussy, who is too far gone to confront his adversary. This is a deep sickness, because to believe the man who murdered your family is your friend is to believe that watermelons have gills. This kind of thinking lacks critical reasoning, a skill needed to defend territory and the minds of the youth. You even believe that Haiti, the only black nation that ever kicked the white man's ass, is cursed because many of them practice voodoo. You even go further and believe that it was God that hit Haiti with a 7.5 earthquake. You religious-minded blacks thought this about New Orleans too. Let me tell you the truth. We gave you this God because we knew by worshipping a white God you would subconsciously be worshipping us. That was a part of our plan, and it worked like a charm on the early slave plantations. We whites decided to perfect it, and have taken our gods all over the world to dark people. You see, we know that if we can get you to put down your God, and pick up ours, you will lose your real power. This is really effective for controlling a people. Practically, by doing this, you will never fight against us because subconsciously you would be fighting God. I know that is a serious mindfuck. But that is why you cheer for a white Jesus to kill all the darkies down in Haiti and New Orleans, while kissing Pat Robertson's ass. Meanwhile our harp machines can shake up more prime real estate for the oil companies. If you continue to follow the God of your enemies, you will never rule the world, because you will always have your allegiance with the white man, instead of your God, who's pissed off because you traded him in for a blonde-haired, blue-eyed hippie, whose name we took from the Greek god Zeus. So, let's recap. The top 3 things you need to do to rule the world, and to have black power is: Number 1, get some unity. Stop killing each other over nickel bags of weed and coke. You are basically helping to kill off your own army. Stop it and unite. Number 2, get organized. There is nothing worse than a bunch of rich rappers talking about gangsta and keeping it real, when all of them still work for rich white and Jewish men that pimp them for their talent. With Jay-Z, P. Diddy and Oprah, you black people should have your own distribution company by now, instead of relying on your white backers to put out your albums. This is because you are not organized. This goes for all you sports athletes too. You black sports guys are stupid. You're a grown man and you still have an owner. Stop being a slave and wake up. When you die, all you will have to pass on to your children is a championship ring. When I die, I will have at least 2 islands and a few manufacturing companies to extend my legacy. For you sports guys, no one will remember you, and the money you blew on trying to floss will be right back into our hands. You need to organize and put your money and minds together for one common goal: black power. Last but not least, you have to stop following the white man's God. He has really done nothing for you since you started to believe in him. Basically all my God has done for you is allow white guys like me to continue stealing from you. Sure, we'll give you a few rich blacks to make it up the ladder. But this is to keep up hope in you, so that you will teach cowardness and fear to your children and get nothing in return. You will keep praying while we will keep slaying and taking more land and control of the earth. It will be this way as long as you fall for the lie that some white dude is going to come down from the skies and pull you out of this shit. Stop it. Instead, go back to believing in your God. The God you had when you were rich in Africa and had diamonds, gold, and health. It certainly beats the crap the white man's God has given you. Even if you believed in rocks, you would probably have more luck than what you have gotten with this guy. One last thing. Black people need to stop saying that they're blessed. This is not only dumb, but it lets us white people know that we are still very much in control. If I steal you from your home and throw you into a cardboard box, have you work for 400 years on a plantation, just because I give you a pillow, doesn't mean that you were blessed. It just means that I gave you a fucking pillow. If a guy cuts off your hand, and then turns around and gives you a bandage, it don't mean anyone blessed you. He just needs his slave to be able to work the next day. So you are not blessed just because the white man gives you a doggy treat. It simply means you are fucked. So given all the crap you blacks have dealt with here in America, and abroad, a new car or money for the light bill are just tools we white folks who are trying to run a plantation do to keep up the morale. So, if going from Africa, a land of milk and honey, diamonds and resources, a place where you had a name and thousands of acres of land.
Maps, I'd say from anywhere from 400 years old till 800 years old. Okay, as you can see, this is Africa. Okay, we know that it was very much more a white continent, and I will show you why. These castles and fortresses and things in Africa. What is this doing 500 years ago? Way down here in the south of Africa, you have this guy. Alright? Does he look like a African? And you have all these castles. What are all these great, looks like kingdoms, European kingdoms, down here, all throughout Africa. Alright? What is this all about? Anyway, some interesting points on this map. Look at these alien races here, all living under the ground. All the different creatures, all the different monsters. Alright? What are these little eyes? See the eye here? And an eye there, an eye there, an eye there. Eyeballs all over the place, and rivers that come out from them. Here, here. There were some very important things. But here's, I believe this is all part of Africa. And looks like white people were there. You have, again, lots of monsters and animals, okay? It's good they put that in a map. I mean, you want to know what's going on. But yeah, here we are, Africa. You have all these castles and so forth. Again. Just going through here. Zooming out, alright? Look at all that. Look at all this. What is this? What are all these monsters doing in Africa, huh? Okay.
Understand this. Our starting point is Asia. That is why all through history we retain the name and title Afro-Asian. Now, conquest, diaspora, and being placed by military campaigns does not make all Afro-Asians Afrikaans. Everything in history tells you the white man crawled out of Africa. Everything in blood tells you the white man mated with a giant hairy beast. They tell you the bone structure, they make images and well aware, big awareness in white America that they're mixed with the Neanderthal.
a remote corner of Turkey, 5 unusual siblings come to the attention of the world. Victims of a mysterious condition, pariahs in their village, they now face international scrutiny. And all because of how they walk, on their feet and their hands. What could possibly have caused this? The family sparks a fierce debate among scientists around the world. Some create a sensation in the popular press, claiming the handwalkers represent a backward stage in evolution. Others believe their disability may hold clues to how we came to walk upright.
Within the DNA of this family, there is going to be that gene that we still have to find, which may be involved in the evolution of this very human trait.
Some argue the handwalkers have been shaped less by genes than by the world around them.
Those kind of behavioral changes don't occur as a result of 1 or 2 genes changing. I'm quite certain that there's something else in the background of this astonishing family that changed the behavior of the children in this family so that they'd failed to get up on 2 legs.
But whether the handwalkers tell us anything about the past, their personal story is about to change forever. The family that walks on all 4s.
Where do white people come from? Now, there have been many theories out there, such as the Out of Africa theory. Then we have the Nation of Islam's theory that white people and Jews were created by an evil scientist called Yaqub. Even the Nuwabians have a belief that the white race was created as a race of killers to serve blacks as a slave army. Now, I don't subscribe to any of these theories, but one thing is for sure, even so-called white people have admitted they're not human. Now, before I answer the question, where do white people come from, we first have to look at some very significant differences between Caucasians and Aboriginals, such as so-called African and the so-called Native American. Now, Caucasians have a sulfur-based anatomy. Look at this article. It says, melanated skin is made of selenium-enriched melanin. Pale skin is made of a variated sulfurous type of melanin. Thus, whereas the skin of so-called black people consists of selenium, the so-called white people have skins with sulfur. Keep in mind that selenium is a superconductor, while sulfur is a very poor conductor. Now, being that pale skin have a sulfur-based anatomy, while melanated skin have a selenium-based anatomy, do the races smell differently? The answer is yes. This article asks the question, do the races smell differently? Yes, they do. It says, a relative told me that many whites say that blacks smell bad. He even said that they are called stink bugs by some Hispanics here in California. I said that I had been around blacks most of my life, including having black girlfriends, black best friends, who I hung out with every day, and teaching whole classes full of blacks every day for months on end, and I never noticed it. It's not really known what blacks smell like to those who say they are stinkers. Some say they smell like sweat or onions, but a lot say that they just flat out stink, period. There is also evidence that Northeast Asians find the odor of blacks particularly offensive, perhaps more so than whites do. Asians also say that we whites stink too, but not as much as blacks do. They often say that we smell like red meat. Some of this may have to do with diet, but one white Vietnam vet said that Vietnamese could hardly smell blacks at all, but could smell a white a block away. Even Hispanics are said to be stinky by some whites. In this article, it says, on Wednesday, September the 20th, 2006, in his poignant address to the United Nations, Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez likened former President George Bush to the devil. The devil came here yesterday, referring to Bush, who addressed the world body during his Tuesday address. Chavez said, and it smells of sulfur still today. On Yahoo Answers, they asked the question, why do white people smell like dogs when they get wet? This article says white people have less melanin and their melanin has sulfur in it, while black people's melanin has selenium in it. Here's a YouTuber asking the question, why do white people smell like a wet dog? On the website BuzzFeed, they asked for the top 20 things white people smell like. The number one is white people stink be smelling like old cabbage and hippo farts. Number two is white people stink. Yeah, that's kind of true. They smell like sauteed onions. On this forum, one user states that they recently read the book, It's the Little Things, The Everyday Interactions That Get Under the Skin of Blacks and Whites by Lena Williams. In it, she said that white people with wet hair often smell like wet dogs to black people, and that black people often smell like sour milk to white people. I have never heard this. When I lived in Memphis, almost all my friends and co-workers were black. We joked about interracial quirks and friction, and smell was never mentioned. I have never been reminded of sour milk by a black person's smell. However, it seems that many people do experience this phenomenon. Why do you think someone might have a certain aroma to a person of a different race? How often does this happen? I once heard that Westerners smell bad to Asians because of all the meat in our diet, which makes sense. Now here's that book, It's the Little Things, The Everyday Interactions That Get Under the Skin of Blacks and Whites. And then we have the book, Why Do White People Smell Like Wet Dogs When They Come Out of the Rain? Now let's talk about the Neanderthal DNA. In this section, I'm going to talk about the fact that only Europeans and Asians have Neanderthal DNA, while melanated people do not. This article is titled, DNA Proof of Racial Differences, More Facts Come to Light. It says here, the fact that modern Europeans are part Neanderthal explains racial differences. Black Africans have no DNA from Neanderthals. It appears that Australian Aborigines do not have any Neanderthal DNA either, so they are also archaic Homo sapiens from Africa. DailyMail.com states Europeans are closer to Neanderthals than Africans are. Discovery News states all non-Africans part Neanderthal, genetics confirm. International Business Times states Neanderthal DNA by race, Asians have closer link from multiple breeding events, studies say. They go on to say that if your heritage is non-African, you are part Neanderthal, according to a new study in the July issue of Molecular Biology and Evolution. Now let's talk about the Rh negative blood. Now in this section, I'm going to be speaking about the fact that the majority of Europeans have Rh negative blood, especially your celebrities, your politicians, and oligarchs, while on the other hand, less than 1% of people of African descent have Rh negative blood. Now Rh stands for rhesus monkey factor, and the rhesus is a very small monkey from India that has managed to get his DNA directly into 93% of all living humans on planet Earth. Then we have blood types. We have type O, type A, type B, and type AB. Now, type O can donate to type O, A, B, as well as AB. But there's only one blood type that can donate to type O, and that's type O. So this is really strange because I've always been told that we're all the same, we're all human, we all have the same common ancestor. Well, how do you explain this? How do you explain the fact that we don't have the same blood type? Now, the American Indians are virtually all type O. We're talking about the Bororo Indians from Brazil, the Inca Indians from Peru, the Shampan Indians from India. Now, people with type O blood need to eat animal proteins, whereas people with other blood types are recommended to be vegetarian. Now, here are some traits of people that have Rh negative blood. They usually have an extra vertebrae, supposedly higher than average IQ. They have more sensitive vision and other senses. They have a lower body temperature, higher blood pressure, increased occurrences of psychic and intuitive abilities. They predominantly have blue, green, or hazel eyes. Sometimes they have reddish hair. They have an increased sensitivity to heat and sunlight, and they're always victims of alien abduction. And now here we have a list of people with Rh negative blood type. And what do you know? At the top of the list, we have Barack Obama, blood type AB negative. As I stated before, less than 1% of people of African descent are Rh negative, right? And then we have this long list of people like Dan Aykroyd, Charlie Chaplin, and Tom Cruise. And of course we have Johnny Depp and Nicolas Cage, who got their eye teeth removed. We'll speak about that at a later date. Now, moving forward, we have our buddy Queen Elizabeth with blood type O negative, and all the celebrities that are related to her. Wow. Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, Hilary Duff, and the list goes on. So now let's take a look at some news articles we have beforeitsnews.com stating the mystery of Rh negative blood, genetic origin unknown. Okay, so no solid scientific explanation exists as to how or why Rh negative blood came about. It is presumed to be the result of a random mutation. Have you ever felt that you were weird or different? It may be due to your DNA. 85% of humans have the monkey gene and 15% do not, and maybe have an alien gene instead. Rh negative people are characterized by higher IQs, sensitive vision, lower body temperatures, sensitivity and heat, and the list goes on. Then they continue to talk about the different blood types we discussed, O, A, B, AB, and they state that blood types are further broken down into two groups, which are negative, positive, which is called the Rh factor. Then they claim there is some evidence that suggests the Rh negative blood group may have appeared about 35,000 years ago, and the appearance was regional and seemed to originally be connected with certain groups or tribes of people. Now they state that northern Spain and southern France is where you can find some of the highest concentration of the Rh negative factor in the Basque people. Another original group were the Eastern Oriental Jews. In general, about 40 to 45% of Europeans have the Rh negative group. Only about 3% of African descent and about 1% of Asian or Native American descendant has the Rh negative group. Due to the larger European numbers, it's a safe bet that was where it was introduced into the human genetic code. Could this be also where the Caucasian was introduced? Is the introduction of Caucasian related to the Rh negative blood factor? They continue by saying if the Rh negative factor is a normal presentation of blood, then why is there a problem when a mother of a Rh negative blood group gives birth to a Rh positive blood group baby? This hemolytic disease, actually an allergic reaction, can cause death when the two different blood groups are mingled during pregnancy. When the antigenic substances attack the negative blood group, it can destroy the blood cells. So why does the human body produce antigens to this blood group? Is the blood group alien? Now let's take a look at this article. It says the mystery of the Rh negative blood. Pretty much going to say the same thing, but let's read it anyway. Genetic mapping helps to show that a mutation from Rh positive to Rh negative occurred somewhere in the Basque area of Europe, maybe as much as 40,000 years ago. Now, they go on to say that those with Rh negative blood produce a rabbit serum that agglutinates the red blood cells that are found amongst those with Rh positive blood types. And therefore, one with Rh negative blood cannot receive blood from Rh positive donors. In this regard, that which is an unnatural mutation and genetic defect, Rh negative, cannot receive that which is most natural to human creation, Rh positive. Now let's talk about Vlad the Impaler. Now, Vlad the Impaler was born in Sikișoara, Transylvania, north of Wallachia, which is now modern-day Romania, during the Dark Ages in 1431. Vlad, his father, was a member of the Order of the Dragon, a group who were supposed to protect Christianity. Now, Romania was actually the current-day resurrection of ancient Rome, and the dragon of that order carries with it some serious significance. The name Dracul itself stands for dragon, and young Vlad, being eager to honor his successful father, took on the name of Dracula, which stands for son of the dragon. Side note, the word Drake also means dragon, but I digress. Now, during his short reign of just 6 years, he managed to kill 1 in every 8 people of Transylvania for the very slightest infractions, such as a glance or a single word he didn't like, amassing a kill total of more than 100,000 in just 6 years. This breaks down to about 45 people every day, 7 days a week. Now, his dungeons revealed a spawn of terrifying inventions of torture, but in the end of every sentence, the ultimate completion of his enemies' lives were always the same: by ramming a 5-foot diameter sharpened stake up through their ass and out of their chest, neck, or mouth. The grounds of Bran Castle were always strewn with rotting corpses in differing levels of decay on these very tall stakes. Now, besides personally enjoying the entire experience of someone's intensely brutal torture and death, Vlad also drank blood on a regular basis with meals. He also enjoyed very much dipping his bread in warm blood and eating it with his dinner, of which is widely known about the most bloodthirsty ruler of all time in Romanian history. Now, many of the authors down through the years have presented very good evidence that Vlad suffered from porphyria, and by drinking the blood of his victims, he maintained a much greater health, as the copper and iron enzymes fed his tissues with a greater supply of oxygen than his own blood could provide. So compelling is the evidence that the Proceeds of the Royal Society of Medicine published a paper called Porphyria and the Etiology of Werewolves, where they show, due to the lack of medical knowledge in the Middle Ages, legends such as Count Dracula and werewolves were due to this extraordinary condition. They also explain how sunlight is a severe danger to those sufferers, as it can leave a face physically disfigured from very little exposure, explaining why vampires may avoid sunlight. Now, porphyria is a disease that causes the affected person to be oversensitive to sunlight, to be extremely allergic to garlic, and have gums that resemble fangs. It is perhaps the disease that is the basis of the creation of fictional characters that we have come to call vampires. Porphyria is a genetic disorder which is very rare. And here we have Vlad the Impaler. Ain't he a handsome fella? Look at that smile. Look at those dimples. Look at those teeth. So symmetrical. And here again we have Vlad the Impaler just having a little lunch, hanging out with a couple of his friends, you know, drinking a little blood with some bread. Nothing special. And then here we have the family tree. What do you know? They all have the same common ancestor, Vlad the Impaler. Well, I guess that answers everything, right? That answers why they act the way they act. And then we have this article, Prince Charles claims kinship to Vlad the Impaler, helps to save Transylvania's forests. Oh, wow, he cares about nature. He's a humanitarian. He's a good guy, right? And again, Prince Charles here to Dracula's bloodline. The Romanian tourist board is to use links between the British royal family and Count Dracula to lure in UK tourists. It has emerged. She cares about animals. What is that? That's a kangaroo? What is that, a wallaby? Who cares? CBS News reports Vlad the Impaler. How is Prince Charles and Queen Elizabeth related to him? Queen Elizabeth related to Vlad the Impaler. Wow. Let's take a look at this section. Just going to talk about when so-called white people emerged on the face of the earth. So-called white man is not, and I repeat, not native to Europe. First, the white man entered Europe around 1200 BC as illiterate horse nomads. They could not and did not begin to record their history until they had absorbed the knowledge of the so-called blacks in Europe, who were the creators of the original European civilization. So I gathered some pictures here just to illustrate, and this is going to tie into my upcoming video called Black Children Inherit Dust. But basically, these are melanated people, indigenous people who have straight hair. So white folks don't have a monopoly on straight hair because they were never on the face of the earth until recently. They just emerged. Okay, they were injected into civilization, if you will. So you had a people of dark complexion with straight hair that they were the first to spread. And here we have a group of melanated people with Asiatic features who also spread across the face of the earth. Again, these group of people transformed, and I have to emphasize transformed, into what you see as Asian people. I'm not going to get into the process of the transformation. I'm going to leave that for my documentary that will be on Patreon. So again, we have Aboriginals, dark skinned Aboriginals with straight hair and African features, and then we had Asiatic melanated people who spread across the face of the earth, also transformed into what we see as Asian. We also have these different type of Aboriginal people, different complexion. Then we have the Dravidians, what you guys call Indians in the US, also not so much Asiatic features, but they do have straight hair, dark complexion. And then we have the albinos, very white skin, light colored eyes, blonde hair. Okay, and again, here's another albino child in India. There have been some instances of so-called black people giving birth to albinos. I want to make it very clear, the so-called white people you see here are not really albinos. They are derived perhaps from albinos, but they're not albinos. Again, we're gonna go into where white people come from towards the end of the video, so bear with me. So again, we look at the history of Europe. We see that there was a black Jesus Christ in Europe, okay, painted. We had statues of blackamoors in Europe. It's there still today, right? And we have a black Mary and a black Jesus in Europe. Yeah. So yeah, we know the history, okay? We know the history. We even had blacks over in Asia, okay? When I say blacks, again, I'm just using that for communication purposes, but we're talking about people with dark complexion, okay? And again, we have a statue of a figure in Cambodia, African features, and another statue in Thailand with African features. So the point of this section is that the entire face of the earth was covered with people with dark complexion. White people were not on the face of the earth. They just arrived recently. So-called black people, so-called Indians, so-called Aboriginals were in Europe, were in Asia, they were all over. Let's get that clear. Now I'm going to elaborate further on this particular topic in my upcoming video called Black Children Inherit Dust. Now let's go into some further research. I want you to get some books that will help you understand further where white people come from. We're going to look at the book Gods of Eden, we're going to have to get the book Everything You Know Is Wrong, Book 1, Human Origins. We're going to also have to get the book Slave Species of the God, The Secret History of the Anunnaki and Their Mission on Earth. Also going to have to look at the book Forbidden Archaeology, The Hidden History of the Human Race. Also going to have to get the book Children of the Matrix, How an Interdimensional Race Has Controlled the World for Thousands of Years and Still Does. Then we must also get the book Missing 411. Then, of course, The Mysterious Origins of Hybrid Man, Crossbreeding, and the Unexpected Family Tree of Humanity. Also have to get the book, and I mean have to get the book Genesis Revisited. That is a must. You can also check out this video on YouTube by a YouTuber named The Crazy German. He blatantly just came out and said, look, have to admit, white people are not human, okay? And he's a white dude, he's a German. He did 46 videos on just that one topic. Pretty much his entire channel is about white people not being human. So don't have to take my word for it, you can take his word for it. Or if you don't want to take his word for it, you can take it from a college professor that claims that black people are the only race that are 100% pure humans. So again, don't have to take my word for it. I'm a fool, I'm an idiot. You can take it from a college professor. Or you can just look up any of those books that I just named and the proof is in the pudding. Now, once you check out a couple movies, this movie you have to check out. Dracula Untold. Must watch that video. Then you must check out the movie Rosemary's Baby. And then finally, I want you to check out The Village of the Damned. These white folks are telling you where they came from. They're giving you small portions of their history. Some of it you have to filter out. Even in these books, you have to filter out the misinformation and the rubbish. But within the rubbish is the gem, is what you're looking for. Now, I want to go into my conclusion. Now, before I get into my conclusion, I just want to share a couple passages from 4 of my books just to show you guys what scholars and professionals are saying. Now, the first book we're going to look at is called Nutricide, and it's written by Dr. Layla Africa. So on page 193, it talks about the development quotient of an African child versus a Caucasian child. So the first row, they're talking about supplemental eating. So for an African child, that would be bananas, yams, squash, and pawpaw. These are alkaline foods, whereas a Caucasian will be eating meat, cereal. These are acidic foods. Now, the next row, it talks about how an African child greets his or her parents versus how a Caucasian child greets his or her parents. So for an African child, that would be the use of musical voice, sounds, clapping the hands, lifting arms, and smiling, whereas a Caucasian child would be mocking the play of wolves, which would be embracing, hugging, which is used to kill a prey, kissing, which is imitating eating a prey, or lapping blood, which would be like tongue kissing. When it comes to toys, African children are using musical, radionic, fruits, berries, plants, stuffed animals, whereas the Caucasian is using hunting type spiritual devices, guns, hammers, mathematical. For the African child, when it comes to faces, family, and environment, for the Caucasian child, face to face while sitting with parent. Now when it comes to beating for the African child, none. The child is too young to understand the purpose. Only 14 months or older. But when it comes to the Caucasian child, when it comes to beating, the parents are slapping the infants. Now when it comes to food for the African child, that would be raw grape or orange juice powder herb at 3 months. No digestive problems. When it comes to the Caucasian child, when it comes to food, mostly cooked or raw cereal, pastry, cow's milk. And then the child will have indigestion, burping, drooling, nose dripping, mucus, requires patting on the back after feeding to relieve indigestion. Okay, and for the African child, when it comes to sensor motor and psychomotor skills, 12 months or less indicates hunger and sound, cooing and whimper. For the Caucasian child, 2 to 3 years or more, the child will cry to indicate they have an issue. Now let's look at the book African Holistic Health. This is page 303. This is a lot of differences here. You could pretty much just take a look at it, but everything is pretty much different. From the blood, the liver, the hair, alcohol, eyes, nose, everything is different here. And on page 304, they go even further, talk about the voice, the ears, the stomach, the sexual parts. The list goes on. Many differences here. On page 511, it talks about the European defeating ancient Africa with diseases. And, he kind of goes in on the different diseases that the European, the so-called European, brought to Africa. Now, this book is titled African People and European Holidays, A Mental Genocide by Ashakamusa Barashango. And I'm going to actually read this part here because, again, this is going to tie into my conclusion. At their first Thanksgiving celebration in 1621, there was only 6 or 7 sane people left in the whole Pilgrim colony. The rest were mentally deranged. In other words, putting it into modern everyday language, the bulk of them were just plain crazy. Pilgrim cannibalism. Captain John Smith wrote, "So great was our famine that a savage we slew and buried. The poorer sort took him up again and ate him, and so did divers. Once another's boiled and stewed with herbs, and one amongst the rest did kill his wife, powdered her, and had eaten part of her." This is from the book, The General History of Virginia, 4th book, page 294. Okay? And now I want to look at the book, Everything You Know Is Wrong, and that's written by Lloyd Pye. I'm going to actually read this part here. It's very important. It says in part 2, we have learned that after 4 million years of supposed evolution, the ultimate distillation of pre-human development was the heavy-boned, massively muscled, rather dim-witted brutes called Neanderthals, who apart from upright posture, bear no physical relationship to modern humans. Very important. That means there is no legitimate way to connect humanity to Earth's remote past. That means Darwinism does not, cannot, and never will explain how mankind got here. This is a powerful statement most scientists would prefer the general public never hear, much less understand. Also realize that it opens some unusual avenues of inquiry along very non-traditional lines. For example, if humanity did not evolve here on Earth, how on earth did we get here? And if Neanderthals and early hominid types are the true native population on planet Earth, why and how and when did all of them go extinct? Better yet, did all of them go extinct? This is where the hominids come in. Now we're going to look at the last book that I want to reference. And this is the book, African People and European Holidays, A Mental Genocide, page 28 to 29. Alright, so it says the Scythian disease. It says in the capitalized sketch of the Scythians, who were the progeny of the white Cro-Magnon and the ancestors of Hitler's Aryan race, we are presenting a case study of the manifest abysmal gap between the African and the Caucasian who later invaded and inhabited East, West, Central, and Southern Europe, with the hope that you will not accuse us of being racial bigots teaching hatred. We are basing the following remarks on one white man's view of his own ancestry, a Greek geographer and historian of the 5th century BCE named Herodotus. The Scythians were a branch of the Caucasian race from the far northeast of the Asian continent and parts of northern Europe. They referred to themselves as being the youngest of all the nations in the ancient world, having emerged on the scene somewhere between 2000 to 1500 BCE. According to one Scythian tradition, they descended from a cave-dwelling viper woman, a horrid creature with the head and torso of a woman from the waist up and the venom-laden body of a snake from the buttocks down. It's really weird that out of all the words that can have a typo, he had a typo with the word snake. It's ridiculous. But it says shake there, but it's supposed to be snake. Anyhow, the story goes on to tell how she once tricked an Egyptian named Hercules. It goes on and on. Let me go to the juicy part here. Where we want to go? So Herodotus says they were the most uncivilized nation in the world and sustained themselves by eating the raw flesh of their cattle. In fact, the eating of rare beef is still a big thing with the descendants here in America today. The rarer, the bloodier it is, the better they like it. The Scythians also abhorred the use of water for bathing. Instead, they basked themselves in the vapors of burning hemp, from which they would derive a narcotic high. Herodotus further depicts them as violent, warlike nomads devoid in the science of agriculture who traveled and lived in wagons. These early predecessors of today's arrogant Euro-Americans rode into combat wearing black capes and fell upon their victims with vampire-like fury, sucking the blood from the body of the first person they killed in battle. It was also customary to scalp their fallen enemy and drink the blood. Alright, so my personal opinion on where white people came from, based on the information that I have in this video, and information that I didn't even bother to put in the video. They are obviously not humans, and they were not created here, okay? We spoke about Rh negative blood, how everyone is Rh positive, but all of a sudden you have a group of so-called Caucasians that are Rh negative, right? We talk about their common ancestors being Neanderthals. We talk about their makeup, their anatomy being sulfur-based. We talk about Vlad the Impaler. We've just spoken about the Scythians. Obviously, their ancestors were hybrids. They were reptilians. They were savages, okay? They know this, and this is why, you try to talk to white folks about their ancestors. They say we're all humans.
Resistance is useless. I will dominate.